Three, two, one.
Action.
All right. Welcome everybody to Untitled ZX, also known as Movie Talk with Nick and Uncle Frank. Nick, what number are we on?
17. We're going to be at 20 by the end of the month.
Wow. Really cruising now.
Yep.
What's going on with school? You're not done yet?
Well, yes, but actually, no. I have more assignments to finish by the end of this week, but I'm not, as you can tell if you're seeing the video version of this, I'm not there because I don't have in-person. This week is finals week, so there's no actual classes, just final exam slots. And since I don't have any exams, I don't have to be there. So
Gotcha. I'm liking your background. You got a lot of what are those Funkos?
those are Funkos, yes.
How many you got?
Last I counted, over 300.
Wow.
A lot of these are mothers. This is like mom's like Disney ones. I have more of my own, and most of the Star Wars ones are in the other room around the corner where we record.
Okay.
I was in that room when I recorded the first couple episodes back in January, but
Yeah.
that backdrop sucked, so I've stopped using it. But
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's cool to be in front of the Disney Funkos. I'm
yeah.
sure your mom will appreciate that, I'm sure.
Yeah. And there's more non-Disney ones on this side. We've got like Ninja Turtles, Batman, Spider,
Mhm.
Omni-Man, Goku,
You got
Transform.
a big celebration coming up.
Yeah, the day this episode airs will be my 21st birthday. It's not
Wow. It's a big
day,
milestone.
but yeah, upon release, and I'll be 21 when we record the next episode.
You and I going to go to the bar on your birthday?
Um, I don't intend on drinking anything, but sure.
Okay. All right. Well, actually, I won't be here on your birthday, but we will go to the bar soon after.
Yeah, you're going on a trip somewhere.
That's all right. You should also know that I got my son Frankie to watch our podcast with his friends, and they all told me that I was too dry.
You were too dry.
That was
Which,
my review.
which episodes did they watch?
They sampled a couple, and apparently I was too dry on all of them. So be it. All right, well, let's get into this week. All right, we got a couple movie reviews. The pizza movie, which I've never heard of. Pizza
That's a
movie.
very bizarre one. I did a watch party with a couple friends on Discord for this past weekend with that one.
Okay.
Get into
I'll
that
be
shortly.
curious about that. We got a Mortal Kombat review. We're going to talk about the Odyssey. A new trailer came out, huh?
Yep, back well, it was over a week ago now, but I forgot about it last week, so
All right.
we're
And we'll
covering that.
do, of course, we'll do some Star Wars time. But let's start with the pizza movie. So, who was in this?
This is
Anybody
a
I know?
there's it's a straight streaming movie, so it's not like a huge cast. It's got Gaten Matarazzo who played Dustin in Stranger Things,
Hmm.
and Sean, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his last name, but you know that TV show The Goldbergs?
Yeah.
He's the lead of that show. That
Hmm. Okay.
um
What in the world could this movie be about? I can't even imagine.
so it's the most absurd. It's very much like an absurdist, like college stoner comedy
Okay.
where sort of these two roommates find this experimental drug in their ceiling and they try the drug and it's egregiously like it screws with their brain in a way that is beyond like mortal comprehension. And
Okay.
if they don't like get a certain combination of certain nutrients which can adequately be put together in a pizza, they will die. So they have to climb down two flights of stairs to get the pizza. That's the plot of the movie, which sounds like it'd be a lot easier than it actually is.
That's an interesting plot to start with, I guess. It sounds
Yeah,
like this generation's White Castle movie.
yeah,
But
that seems about.
how was the movie?
I thought it was fairly amusing. It sort of, again, it's very much like an absurdist comedy because the effects of this drug on their minds makes, well, it doesn't really make much in the realm of sense. Like, it's very difficult to describe what exactly was going on in this film,
Okay.
but
Was
in
it
a way
funny
that
at least?
oh, it was hysterical. The humor was fairly solid. Um,
Uh,
um, at the end of the movie. they sort of reveal the final stage of the drug is that you see like the ultimate truth of the universe or whatever if you have too much of it. And they give our main antagonist like they just they just stuff him down his throat a bunch of the drugs, and he just wakes up and he's in the writer's room with the directors of the movie. The ultimate truth of the universe is that it's a
Uh,
motion picture.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
And he straight up just gives up trying to fight them when he realizes he's been written in a cliche way as a very cliche, generic villain. He just gives up. He's like, I'm too generic for this. I'm leaving. He's just like, I'm just a generic cliche movie villain. I'm leaving.
That's crazy. All right, so it's pretty funny. You would say that Howard, the actors were good, two leads.
They were solid dynamic because they're like these roommates and they're like they have a kind of weird, kind of strained relationship because they're two very different people. One of them would rather just stay in his room playing video games all day, and the other one is basically the god of chaos,
Okay, sounds
and
fun.
which is how they end up in the whole drug mess to begin with. They're like, yes, let's try this experimental drug we found in the ceiling.
Oh my gosh.
So
What did your friends have to say about it? Did they like it?
well, unfortunately, only two other people showed up to it, and one of them only stayed halfway through it. But I'm not even going to try to summarize what Matt's thoughts on it were because Matt does not do much in the realm of thinking.
Gotcha. Okay. What did you find the funniest? What did you relate to?
It wasn't necessarily relating to, I mean, other than the two roommates trying to kill each other because they
Hmm.
can't get along sometimes, which,
Well,
I relate to on a spiritual level.
yeah, you have roommates, so yeah,
Mm, I have one particular former roommate who has somehow managed to stick around. I tried to get him as a guest on this episode. He said he may or may not be available and then never answered again. But,
That sounds about right. All right. All right. What did it do well? What did it not do well?
well, again, we sort of went over what it did well. The humor is fairly effective. And again, a little self-aware at times. Found the whole writer's room joke to be pretty funny.
Okay.
There's also this random subplot that was kind of fun where the pizza delivery robot, they get the pizza, but then they get kidnapped by like these RAs, which I don't know what an RA is, but it's some sort of like college dorm security something who are like crazy people in this one. They're basically like a neo-fascist organization in this. Like they're completely insane and it's kind of funny. But they get the pizza, but the pizza is delivered by one of those like delivery robots, and the robot has like a panic attack because he didn't give him a 5-star review because he didn't get a chance to give him a review because he got kidnapped. So he literally like the robot with wheels manages to climb up 2 flights of there's an entire subplot of the robot trying to climb up the stairs so he can get a positive review because he cannot live in peace without knowing whether or not he did a good job.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. What's
Um,
your rating?
It's like a 7 out of 10. There was also a random butterfly that was voiced by Daniel Radcliffe for some reason,
Wow.
and he saves the day at the end by pushing the main villain down an elevator shaft.
Okay. Sounds interesting to me. All right. 7 out of 10. That's pretty solid for you.
Yeah, it's nothing like mind-blowing, but like the absurdist humor is still fairly funny.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay.
I do wish the villains, the RAs actually did something for the first half of the movie because they were sort of involved in the movie, but they felt sort of disconnected from the main plot for the first half until they finally eventually they converged with the main plot line and it actually fit, but they sort of felt separate from the main plot line
Hmm.
for the first act.
The RA is the resident advisor, and they're usually like another college student that's in charge of the dorm.
Yeah,
They're
that
not
makes sense.
security per se, but they like help all the kids that are in the dorm.
Yeah, well, they were definitely serving as more security slash wannabe cops in this one, where they were
Hmm.
apprehending random people who were disobeying the rules, so had drugs or alcohol on campus. They would apprehend them, steal their phones, hack their phones, and then sentence them to a fate worse than death, which was sending them to one of the residence halls that is an abandoned castle 4 hours away from their campus.
Boy. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'll keep an eye out for the pizza movie.
Yeah, it's on Hulu and Disney Plus. Very strange movie.
All right. Maybe I'll at least check out the start of it. But all right. So let's talk about a trailer came out. I'm looking forward to the Odyssey. Should be
It's
good.
it's Christopher Nolan. We expect nothing less from him.
All right. Apparently, it comes out in 9 weeks.
Yeah, July 17th is when it comes out. They dropped the first trailer in months. We've been waiting since December for them to finally start marketing this movie because there was a trailer back in December, but that was it. So we
What
were
do we
waiting for a second
what do
trailer.
we learn in the new trailer?
We get a lot of screen time from the film's primary antagonist, Antinous, played by Robert Pattinson, who was one of in the Odyssey, he's one of like the suitors who's trying to like gain power by marrying Odysseus's wife,
Hmm.
and he does so by force, as far as I'm concerned. So it seemed the film seemingly it portrays him as the primary antagonist, and it shows him having a rivalry with both Penelope, which is the wife played by Anne Hathaway, and Telemachus, which is Odysseus' son, played by Tom Holland.
I didn't know Anne Hathaway's in this too.
I mean, she's worked with Nolan a couple times before, so it makes sense.
Yeah,
Again,
that's
a
true.
humongous cast to this film. You've got Pattinson, Tom Holland, Anne Hathaway, Zendaya, Lupita Nyong'o, Matt Damon leading, of course.
Yeah, it's going to be a big film, I would expect. So,
Shot for
well, Matt
IMAX.
Damon was on Saturday Night Live. That's how I know that they have 9 weeks to go till the movie comes out.
Yeah, I think Nolan was on Colbert, which is where the trailer dropped last week.
I have to watch the interview. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't see the interview, just the trailer.
Yeah.
Shows a lot more of like the Trojan War stuff too. Like we see a better look at the Trojan horse, which looks very different than most interpretations of the Trojan horse. It's a lot more detailed
Yeah.
than most historic depictions of having it look like a crappy wood horse. Like there's actual like craftsmanship to this depiction of the Trojan horse.
Didn't you tell me he likes to use real effects, Nolan?
Yes, which leads me to my next point. The Cyclops polyphemet, I can't say it, but
Hmm.
Cyclops is in the trailer a couple times. That thing is a puppet, not CGI at all. That is a real, like 8 foot tall puppet.
Wow.
It's humongous and it's impressive, even from the couple glimpses of it we see, because we don't see much of it. We see a couple glimpses. We get one decent shot that shows the full body of it, and it looks insane.
Okay.
Yeah, we got a new poster alongside the trailer. The poster would be great if there wasn't just Matt Damon randomly placed in the middle of it. It's always the main poster of the movie always sucks. The teaser poster is always great. Even with like Nolan movies, they'll have like the teaser poster, which looks awesome. And then you've got
Hmm.
the main poster, which looks really weird because they shoehorned the actual like actor main character into it,
Hmm.
even though they feel really out of place. Because like if you remove Matt Damon from that poster and it's just that like looming image of like the Trojan horse on fire, that looks awesome. But then you've just got Matt Damon in his costume just kind of awkwardly placed in there.
Yeah.
They did the same thing with Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer's teaser poster was like the most insane thing ever, and then the main poster was kind of not great.
A little bland.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just a close up of Oppenheimer himself as opposed to really sort of showcasing everything.
I'm assuming this is going to be a super long movie.
They said it'll be shorter than Oppenheimer, which clocked in at 3 hours and 1 minute, but they didn't say how much shorter, so it could be like 3 minutes shorter for all we know.
Yeah. It seems like it should be long, but yeah.
I don't think Nolan's had a movie that's under 2 hours and 40 minutes in the last decade, so I don't expect it to be any less than 2 hours 40.
Yeah. All right. Well, looking forward to that movie.
We're absolutely going to cover it once that comes out in
Yeah.
glorious IMAX.
Did you get your tickets yet?
Since they're not up yet, no.
Okay.
I don't think they'll be up until probably since it's a Nolan movie, I do think they'll go up earlier than they do for a lot of movies. For most movies, they go up between 2 to 4 weeks before the film's release. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be a little earlier. I could see it being as early as late May for this film.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we'll have to wait and see, of course.
Yeah, well, I expect it to be a big summer movie for sure. So,
Oh, absolutely.
all right, Mortal Kombat number 2. I actually almost saw this. I couldn't convince Frankie to go, but
You couldn't convince Frankie to go. It's not even that
no,
long.
they don't want to go. But all right, so tell me, who's the director?
It's directed by the same guy who directed the first movie, Simon McQuoid, or McQuoid. I can't say his name, but we've got a step in the right direction because he directed the first film 5 years ago as well. The first film was not so great. So
And do I know anybody from the cast or
the lead actor is Carl Urban portraying Johnny Cage.
okay?
Um, he's probably the biggest name in the movie. known for his roles in, he's probably most famous for his role on the TV show The Boys, which ends next week, but he's also had like supporting roles in like Lord of the Rings. I think he was in Thor Ragnarok.
Hmm.
He's been in a bunch of things, usually in supporting roles, but he's been in a lot.
All right, maybe I'd know his face if I saw it. So, all
Maybe.
right. So what was good?
It's a significant step in the right direction compared to the first film. In this sort of era of video game movies becoming more prevalent and getting sequels, you see stuff like Five Nights at Freddy's or the Super Mario Brothers movies. It's sort of refreshing to see a video game sequel actually listen to the criticism from the first film instead of doubling down on everything that went wrong, which is it's kind of amazing to see.
So what did they fix? What's
Um,
better?
Firstly, they actually focused on characters from the game. The first film's protagonist was a character named Cole Young, who was not from the games. He was a completely original character who they just sort of came up with on the spot, which I would be okay with if he was an interesting character. But his personality was literally just he's fighting, he's protecting his family, and his power is, I kid you not, literal plot armor.
What does that even mean? Plot armor.
It basically means he literally got this set of armor that made him stronger every hit he took, which basically is he's basically impervious to damage. Like he's
Hmm.
literally just indestructible, and it's like that's kind of generic and really telling and kind of stupid.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Well, if he's not in the game, that seems really crazy.
yeah, they had toyed around with the idea of including him as a assist fighter in the latest game, Mortal Kombat 1, but they
Mhm.
opted not to for reasons probably relating to his severe lack of popularity. His character does return in this film, but in the first film he had about 50 minutes of screen time, and this one he has 3 minutes, and he dies a third of the way through the movie.
All right, that's a lot less. Yeah. So Carl Urban, you said was the main character.
Yes, he portrays Johnny Cage, who is a retired, sort of past his prime, washed up actor who is called upon by the gods as a champion to fight for Earthrealm. So the realms in this world are sort of every like couple of years there's these tournaments, and whichever realm wins 10 straight tournaments wins control over its rival realm. So we have it going against Outworld, which is ruled by the tyrannical Shao Kahn, who is not in the previous film, but that's sort of how it goes in the games too. You have his right-hand man, the sorcerer Shang Tsung, is usually the main villain of the first installment before Shao Kahn himself appears in the second. And they did the same thing with the movie. Shang Tsung was in the first film, and now Shao Kahn is the primary antagonist here, and Shao Kahn is excellent as the antagonist.
Okay.
They do him much better. They do him very well compared to his games counterpart. He's not like an overly talkative guy. He rules through brute force. He fights for himself. He's an absolute unit. They got I believe, a bodybuilder to play him. I'm not familiar with the guy who plays him, but I think he's more known for like bodybuilding and like his
Mhm.
physical size. Like he's huge. He's physically imposing, which is exactly what you want from Shao Kahn. You want someone who like you feel his screen presence without him saying a single word.
Right.
Like he does have dialogue, but he's not like crazy like dialogue heavy.
Good action scenes, fight scenes.
Absolutely. A huge step up from the first film's fight scenes as well. They're a lot more creative, and I think it's faster paced than the first movie as well.
Mhm.
Again, the action is more creative because the action in the first movie was like okay, but it was only really great when Scorpion and Sub-Zero were on screen, which was not crazy often. But this film, like every
I
fight
wonder
scene is
I wonder if they got a bigger budget or the director just learned how to direct action scenes.
maybe because there was a particular fight in the middle of the film I really liked where Liu Kang, who is the main character of the game series, and he's
Hmm.
like the Shaolin monk who has fire powers, is fighting his adopted brother and best friend, Kung Lao, who died in the previous film. But as per the game lore, he was resurrected as a revenant to serve Outworld by the sorcerer Quan Chi, who was another big villain from the games who debuts in this film. So they end up fighting each other, and the way they incorporate their sort of abilities, again, Liu Kang with his fire powers and Kung Lao's sort of abilities, he has this hat that's like a disc, and he uses the hat as a weapon. It's got like a buzzsaw ridge, but he can
Mhm.
also teleport using the hat. So they sort of incorporate that very creatively. You have him using the hat as a shield, you have him throwing it, you have him. There's one shot where he throws, where they get pushed aside, and then Kung Lao throws his hat at Liu Kang, then
Mhm.
teleports towards the hat and does like a drop kick.
Oh, geez. Okay, that's cool.
So it's very creative how they incorporate sort of people's power sets. Again, that fight scene between Liu Kang and Kung Lao being sort of the highlight in terms of action. Technically, we have two lead characters in this movie, though. Johnny Cage, who is the star of the film, and we also have the character of Katana from the games, who is the daughter of like the former king of the nation of Edenia, which is part of Outworld, who is
Okay.
killed in a flashback, who was killed in like the opening scene, which is a flashback by Shao Kahn. So she's sort of fighting on behalf of Shao Kahn, but she's also a double agent for Earthrealm's fighters, supplying information to the God of Thunder, Raiden. And
Okay.
she ends up being the one to get the final fight with Shao Kahn to avenge her father at the end of the film, which is a brutal fight with a brutal kill befitting the Mortal Kombat name. Because she
What was the rating on the movie, by the way?
are absolute,
All right.
yeah, it's very violent.
Got
Which
it.
again, it's Mortal Kombat. Being like cartoonishly over the top with its violence is sort of the whole gimmick of the series.
Yeah.
The fatalities are like incredibly grotesque finishers, and again, the kill that Kitana gets on Shao Kahn is absolutely like fatality worthy. Her weapons of choice are these fans that have blades on them, and she can like spin the fans. So she knocks his helmet off, and then she slices his head into three pieces with the fan.
Oof. Okay.
Again, brutal. It's Mortal Kombat. That's pretty on
It's
par.
kind of the point, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what could they have done better?
Um, there were two different main fight scenes going on at the in the third act. There was the katana fight against Shao Kahn, but then you also have in NetherRealm, which is basically Mortal Kombat's equivalent of Hell, you have a rematch between Scorpion and his arch nemesis Bihan, formerly known as Sub-Zero, now known as Noob Saibot, which was a very cool sequence on its own, but in terms of like actually fitting in the narrative of the film, Scorpion and Noob Saibot both feel sort of like afterthoughts in the story. Like Scorpion is not really a participant in the story; he just shows up in the third act because they're like, "Yeah, we need to go to NetherRealm. We need to go to your magic
Mm.
hell realm and find Noob Saibot so we can get the thing to stop Shao Kahn from being overpowered." So they
Right,
just
so it's kind of like they threw it in without
yeah.
clarity of where it belongs.
Yeah, which it was mostly just because Scorpion's like the mascot of the franchise. We've got to throw him in somewhere.
Right. All
So he
right, what else?
so he can do his thing with the chains and yell his iconic line, "Get over here." There's also with Johnny Cage, I think his arc is fairly good with him being this washed up fighter who just wants to live his life and wallow in his misery. But he sort of finds that star power he has and
Mm.
sort of becomes this like reluctant hero who's willing to fight for Earthrealm even though he's got no power. So he's fighting against these like gods and these warlords with like magic powers, and he's just a dude. But he does get these powers at the end of the movie, which does happen to him in the games. I don't entirely know what his power set is supposed to be or how it works. But in the movie, his arc sort of concludes before he gets his powers. So him
Mm.
getting his powers at the end is feels sort of like just random because it's like his arc wasn't about getting powers. His arc was about learning that he can fight and he can fight against these like crazy powerful people just by himself. And there's no real build up to him getting his powers. It just kind of happens during the big final fight with Noob
Mm.
Saibot.
Do you expect there's going to be a third?
Absolutely. They end the film where the surviving champions of Earthrealm kidnap Quan Chi, And they're like, yeah, so we're going to go use this guy, this like necromancer sorcerer, to bring all of our dead friends back. And they sort of end with like all of the surviving heroes walking dramatically towards the camera.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because they're gonna have a, because it sounds like they just threw some stuff in. They could have held it for the third movie, you know.
That's for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah,
All
we'll
right,
see.
what's your rating?
Solid 7 out of 10, a huge step up from the first movie. More focused, more faithful to the games, more interesting and engaging characters, better action. It basically does everything better than the first film, which is again kind of insane to see because in this age of like video game adaptations, people are okay accepting the bare minimum, which is why we get disasters like Five Nights at Freddy's 2 or the Mario Galaxy movie, which were again video game sequels that took every problem with the first film and doubled down on the problems instead of listening to actual constructive criticism because oh the fans will give us $1 billion anyway because the fans don't care if we give them a good thing as long as they recognize something.
Well, that's true. That's how they're gonna make money. But it seems to me if you're gonna spend all that time, you might as well make a good movie, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, a lot of people unfortunately don't see that way, especially again the big corporations. They'll get people who are able to make safe, crowd-pleasing, sort of basic movies
Hmm.
that are just sort of like, yeah, there's nothing really special about this, but it's basic and doesn't offend anybody, so it'll make a lot of money.
All right. Well, sounds like something to keep an eye on. Do we know when the third movie's coming out or no?
No, not yet. We know it's in development, although for what it's worth, it took a very long time for this movie to come out. This movie, the first one came out in April of 2021, over 5 years ago, and this
Mm.
sequel took forever to get made. It was such a weird development cycle because we knew it was in some stage of development, but it wasn't officially greenlit for a while, and they officially greenlit it, but gave us no release information. Then they shot the whole movie, and they finished shooting it well over a year and a half ago, and we didn't even have a release date. But then they finally gave it a release date of October of 2025. And then in July 2025, we got our first trailer, and they're like, yeah, they're dead set on the October release date. And then inexplicably, a couple of weeks later, they push it back 7 months to May of 2026. We
Mm.
still don't know what that was all about, but it's out now, so
Okay. All right. Let's move over to Star Wars time.
yeah.
So we got Mandalorian and Grogu coming out soon.
Yeah, first Star Wars feature film in 7 years, and it comes out in 2 weeks, which is kind of crazy to be talking about, even if I'm not overly enthused by the movie they chose to make. But
I saw another trailer on TV the other day. I'm like, oh, looks decent.
yeah, looks pretty average. It looks better than the show's last season, but that's not an overly impressive feat because the show, well, we're going to get into that in a bit because we
Yeah,
are
well,
talking here
let's
about.
talk about it. Yeah, because you're suggesting there's a few things you should really make sure you watch ahead of time.
Yeah, I think there's a couple sort of obvious choice things. You've got to watch seasons 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian, because again, they are sort of the foundation of the dynamic between these characters and sort of the conflict of this time period. Then
Because
you've got
this takes place right after the last show.
we don't know the exact time. The timeline with this particular era is really weird
Hmm.
because the first season of the show was set 5 years after Return of the Jedi,
Okay.
and now there has been 3 seasons of the show, as well as 3 spin-offs, the Book of Boba Fett, which we're going to talk about in a second, as well as Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew, and a lot happens between these 4 different shows. But timeline-wise, on like official timeline documents, everything says it's set roughly in the same year as the first season of The Mandalorian, but it feels like way too much has happened for this to be in a single year. So
Hmm.
we really need them to sort of clarify and like some stuff involving the timeline here.
Got it. All right. So Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2.
It's
What
sort of
else?
a weird breakup because in between the releases of seasons 1 and 2, we got the release of the spin-off series, The Book of Boba Fett,
Hmm.
which, unlike some of the other spin-off shows, this is for whatever reason essential to the Mandalorian story because halfway through the season they decided they got bored of making a show about Boba Fett and it just randomly turned into a Mandalorian interlude.
Season 2.5.
Yeah. Yeah, because episode 5 of the Book of Boba Fett was literally just an episode about Mando the entire time. Boba Fett was not even in the episode. And then the next episode, we follow Mando a lot. We see Grogu more in that episode. Boba Fett was in that episode as a 30-second non-speaking cameo. And then the week after that was the season finale. And they wonder why they've never continued that story because there's definitely room to continue this stuff with Boba Fett, but they just don't because people didn't receive the show well because they couldn't commit to their own, like the premise they promised to focus on. They just couldn't commit to it and ended up just doing something completely different midway through the show.
Yeah, that seems pretty weird.
Yeah, and
All right, so
that
then
bring
what?
that ends up bringing Mando and Grogu back together after they parted ways at the end of season 2. So at the end of season 2, they parted ways, and Grogu went to train with Luke. By the start of season 3, because they reunited in someone else's show, they're back together. So if you watched season 3 after season 2 without watching the Boba Fett show, odds are you'd be very confused.
Hmm.
Um, and season 3 does not really make anything better, but it's still kind of important. Season 3 is embarrassing, honestly.
Embarrassingly bad, you're
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, it's kind of just unfortunate how uninterested it seems in like committing to any of its concepts, and to any of its characters. Mando himself sort of takes a back seat. I mean, he's still in every episode, but he doesn't really feel like he matters much to the story. Like he really just feels like he's there half the time. And they give the character of Bo-Katan Kryze from the Clone Wars and Rebels a lot more screen time, except she's not an interesting character. She could be an interesting character if they actually did something interesting with her because she's had a very complicated, very troubled past involved in the terrorist group Death Watch that overthrew her sister, the Duchess Satine's rule of Mandalore during the Clone Wars, and which inadvertently led to her sister's death at the hands of Darth Maul. Um, but they just don't address her like complicated past as this sort of extremist who is all, for what it's worth, entirely responsible for Mandalore being in the ruined state that it is.
Hmm.
And then she took it back from the Empire in Rebels season 4, and then sometime between then and there, she chickened out after Moff Gideon made a surrender deal. Then Moff Gideon betrayed her and nuked the planet. So,
Well, they must have to if the Mandalorian was not in season three predominantly, they had to have him in the movie.
yeah, I mean, again, he was still in season 3 predominantly. He just didn't feel like he really mattered. Like
Hmm.
he was there in every episode. He was always involved in whatever like plot line was going on, but his involvement really just came down to he was there to help Bo-Katan with her inconsistent arc because they don't really delve into Bo-Katan's sort of past here and her troubled past and sort of the
Hmm.
atrocities she's committed that she claimed were in the name of like Mandalore's future, but in actuality ended up leading to Mandalore's ruination. So this is now her third attempt to lead Mandalore, and we're expected to believe that all of the Mandalorians who know damn well what she did are just going to happily accept her back with open arms without like questioning or doubting her leadership after she failed to lead them on 2 separate occasions and got the planet blown basically to smithereens.
Hmm.
And she,
What do we know about the plot of Mandalorian and Grogu?
um,
Well, this is about what this is about the ending for Mandalorian, right? Like in
yeah, after the end of season 3, after they successfully recapture Mandalore, there was another plot line I really didn't like because Mando got the dark saber, which is like a black bladed lightsaber, which is sort of a symbol of Mandalorian leadership. Whoever owns it basically lays claim to rulership of Mandalore.
Mhm.
But Mando Din Djarin, he wants nothing to do with it. So he ends up instead of they could have done something more interesting, like the reluctant leader trope, which I think could have been really interesting. For one, historically, I think leaders who don't want power usually end up being the best ones. But I think him
Sure.
rising up to that challenge could have been really interesting. But no, he gives the dark saber to Bo-Katan on a technicality, and then she leads Mandalore again. So Mando at the end of season 3, he goes to his contact and friend in the New Republic, Captain Carson Teva, who is the leader of the Adelphi Rangers, which is a starfighter squadron that operates off the planet Adelphi. And he strikes up a deal with him. He says, I want to hunt. He says to him, he's like, I'd like to operate as an independent contractor for the New Republic to hunt down Imperial warlords. So he becomes this independent contractor, and that's sort of where we pick off. He's working for the New Republic now at the time of the movie as an independent contractor. His dispatcher is a character named Colonel Ward, who's portrayed by Sigourney Weaver. And they just released a clip earlier today, actually, that showcases or that talks about it shows her sort of giving Mando sort of his next job because the first 25 minutes of the movie were shown at some limited event not too
Mhm.
long ago where it shows the this footage in the trailers where Mando is seen fighting AT-ATs on this snowy planet. That is the opening scene of the movie, this opening action sequence where he hunts down some one-off Imperial warlord and kills this one-off Imperial and has to escape these AT-ATs. And it leads right into the clip they showed today, or at least it should, where he gets his next job about an elusive Imperial warlord named Janu Coin, who they have limited information about, but the Hutt cartel, particularly two twins who I believe are cousins of Jabba, have to promise to give Mando or the New Republic information about him if they can rescue the last living heir to Jabba's throne, his son Rada the Hutt, who made his first appearance in the 2008 Clone Wars animated film.
Well, what do we think? I mean, if Mandalorian and Grogu are, Mandalorian's getting Grogu ready, is there going to be a Mandalorian 4, for example?
There's been a
Or is this
lot
the
of
end of Mandalorian?
there's been a lot of weird discussion because we don't actually know. There's been talks, lots of rumors that they had scripts for season 4 that are separate from this film. And there's been rumors or rumblings that if this film is successful, they'll end up doing two sequels.
Hmm.
So
Right.
it's really, I think, where they go after the events of this film depends on how it performs financially.
Right, right, right. Yeah, so I get it. If it does well, they'll probably do another movie. If it does poor, it might be the end of Mando.
Yeah, I mean, I still think he'll appear in supporting roles after this because a
Hmm.
lot of the TV shows set in this time period have been building up to this crossover movie that ties Ahsoka and The Mandalorian and some of the other shows in this time period together to build up to the big Imperial bad guy, Grand Admiral Thrawn, which I do think Ahsoka is not like direct the first season of Ahsoka I don't think is directly important to this, but I do think it contextualizes sort of the danger of the rising Imperial remnant because in Mando season 3 you see these Imperial warlords who are sort of disjointed and at each other's throats, and they can't really become a big threat because they're too busy fighting each other. But Grand Admiral Thrawn returning to the galaxy is sort of posed as the big threat because he's the one person who can unite the Imperial remnant together to forge some to forge a fighting force that can actually challenge the New Republic.
Hmm. All right, so that's Ahsoka, which would be good preview to
Yeah.
Mandalorian. What else are the other things we should be watching ahead of it?
I mentioned the Clone Wars film before because that is where Rada the Hutt first appears as a
Yeah,
baby.
yeah.
He is the focal point of that film. Is that film's whole premise is that the Separatists kidnap Jabba's son. They kidnap Rada as a baby to frame the Jedi and frame the
Hmm.
Jedi and the Republic so that they can turn the Hutt cartel to the Separatist cause.
Hmm.
And Anakin and his new apprentice Ahsoka, who is brand new in this film, have to rescue him and return him to Jabba. But
Okay. What else we need to see?
this one is another. I don't think it's entirely necessary, but the character of Zeb, who's appearing in this film after a cameo in The Mandalorian season 3, is one of the main characters of the animated series Rebels, which I think is
Hmm.
one of the better Star Wars shows. I grew up with Rebels really, but he's one of there's six main characters in Rebels, and Ahsoka sort of serves as a follow-up to Rebels. It continues some of the plot threads left after the end of Rebels, but Zeb, for whatever reason, is not in the show, even when most of Rebels' main characters do appear in Ahsoka, such as Ezra Bridger, Sabine Wren, Harrison Dula, and everyone's favorite genocidal astromech droid Chopper. But Zeb does not appear in Ahsoka, although he is said to be appearing in the Ahsoka's forthcoming second season. So, but he's also said to be a pretty major character in The Mandalorian and Grogu. He's been appeared pretty heavily in the marketing. There's been a bunch of toys of him. There's a Funko of him. He's in one of the Lego sets. He's gonna have a Black
Okay.
Series figure soon, but he's one of the main characters in Rebels. So again, I don't think this is optional. I don't think this is like required viewing. Like it's not gonna make or break your experience with the film, but I think it'll enhance his appearance at least.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Which,
All right. Well, we got a lot of things to watch here before the movie comes out.
yeah,
So,
yeah, film comes out and
are you rewatching anything beforehand?
no, I've got it all memorized.
Of course.
Also, on the note of Ahsoka, there are rumors we could be hearing details about a release date, potentially even footage sometime this week. If so, I will absolutely bring it to everyone's attention in the next episode.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Well, what's your next movie you're gonna see?
On Thursday, I am seeing one I've been waiting for a while, Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway, The Sorcery of Nymph Cersei, which was featured in my most anticipated of the year list. It was released in Japan
I
in
can't
January.
even believe we're saying that. What a long, yeah, run.
Yeah.
What is that about?
It's a sequel to a film from 2021, which itself is a sequel to a film from 1988, which itself is a sequel to three TV shows. Um,
Okay.
it's an anime film. It's Japanese,
Right. I gotcha. Okay.
but that comes out in America this weekend, and I I was catching up on that franchise last year, getting into that franchise, but of the things I watched, the film that this is a sequel to was probably my favorite project I've watched within this universe so far. So naturally, its sequel was high on my anticipation list. So I'm very happy that it's finally got its United States release date, which is this week, and very happy that it's my birthday weekend as well. So
Double duty. Yeah.
yeah,
All right. And I
not
think we're going to talk about Ahsoka season two, huh?
yeah, speculation on where it'll go, sort of based on what we know so far. Maybe we'll have footage by next week to go off of, which will give me more to work with. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll also talk about Top Gun next week because it's returned to theaters for its 40th anniversary, and impressively, I've never seen the original.
What?
I've seen the second one,
Okay.
but that will change on Saturday because it's returned to theaters, and they both are actually returning to theaters and IMAX, but I'm going to see the first one because I haven't seen it.
All right. Great. That's a good movie. So at least that's one I've seen too. So,
Yeah,
all right. Well, that's the whole agenda for today. So,
that's
I guess, I guess with that,
yep, yep, that's a
that-
wrap.
that's a wrap. See everybody next time.
And cut.